Welcome, the anointed ones. There comes a moment in every chosen one's life when the world realizes, much too late, that your heart does not operate on human settings. And lately, people have been whispering, murmuring, panicking, gossiping, and low-key studying you like a mystery case file because apparently you've got mad heart. Not regular courage, not everyday resilience, not that I drink green tea and journal on Tuesdays type of inner strength. No, yours is the kind of heart that looks like it survived 5 seasons of spiritual warfare, outlived betrayal arcs, and still wakes up choosing purpose like it's clockwork. Here's the wild part, and this is a fact documented across psychology, spirituality, and even survival studies. People with unusually strong emotional resilience are often misjudged as reckless, intimidating, or irrational, simply because their capacity for endurance is far beyond the average human threshold. In other words, when someone's heart is built differently, the world assumes there must be something wrong with them, until life proves there's something right with them. And that's exactly where you stand. See, your story has reached a strange and hilarious point. Your strength is so unexplainable that people don't know whether to admire you, fear you, or pray for whoever tries you next. Some of them are even confused because you don't fold the way regular people fold. Meanwhile, you're just out here drinking water, minding your business, and wondering why everybody is acting like you bench press emotional trauma for fun. They've seen you take hits that should have left you spiritually unconscious. They've watched you survive storms that would have broken people who looked tougher than you. They've witnessed you walk through seasons that should have rewritten your personality into bitterness, but instead your heart grew stronger, sharper, wiser, and yes, a little more savage in the most divine way. Your heart has become the proof that the battles weren't wasted, the betrayals weren't pointless, and the setbacks weren't random. Every scar taught you something, every disappointment refined you, every season of loneliness sculpted a level of courage even you didn't know you were capable of. And now, the same people who assumed you were fragile are now telling stories about your strength like they're narrating a documentary. They're shook, they're confused, some are impressed, some are intimidated, and a few are quietly wondering if you're secretly made of titanium and righteous audacity. But the truth is simple. Your heart didn't get strong by accident. It got strong because you chose character over convenience, purpose over pity, and growth over grudges. Tonight, we're diving into the real reasons they're saying you've got mad heart. Not the shallow assumptions, not the surface-level observations, but the deep, soul-rooted truths that only a chosen one carries. Let's begin. Number 1. Your heart isn't soft. It's strategic compassion forged through betrayal. People see your kindness today and think it comes from innocence, but the truth is far more layered. Your compassion was built in the kind of environments that should have made you cold, guarded, and unrecognizable. You didn't grow a big heart because life treated you gently. You grew it because life treated you harshly, and instead of letting cruelty twist you, it trained you. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every moment where someone thought they got one over you was actually shaping something rare inside you. You learned early that people don't always have good intentions. You learned that loyalty can be one-sided, trust can be mishandled, and even the people closest to you can become the sharpest source of pain. But instead of letting those experiences strip you of your humanity, you learned how to love in a way that isn't blind. Your compassion became strategic, not weak, not naive, not desperate, but intentional. You became the kind of person who can care for others while still protecting your spirit. People misunderstand you because they're used to kindness that is naive or attention-seeking. Your kindness isn't either. It's refined, it's measured, it's based on discernment, not neediness. You can see the truth in people, even when they try to hide it. You know when someone is using you, when someone is lying, when someone is projecting. You're not clueless, you're observant. You give because you want to, not because you don't know better. And that's what shakes people. They expect your softness to come with stupidity, and it doesn't. They expect your compassion to be proof that you're easily manipulated, and it isn't. They expect your heart to be a vulnerability, but it's actually your most powerful shield. Your compassion is so strong because you earned it, not because it was handed to you. It was forged in the fire of people who tried to break you and failed. It became what it is because you chose to stay human in spaces where cruelty would have been the easier option. That's why your heart is respected, feared, and talked about. It's battle-tested, wise, and impossible to counterfeit. Number 2, you risk your own emotional safety to tell the truth no one else has the spine to voice. You've learned that truth isn't always loud, but it is always costly. Most people avoid it because they're scared of what it might disrupt. They want to stay in good graces, avoid making waves, and keep things comfortable, even if that means pretending not to see what's clearly wrong. But you're different. You've reached a point in your life where your peace depends on honesty, even if the truth shakes the entire room. You don't speak to impress or to be liked. You speak because holding things in feels heavier than any backlash you could receive. You've lost people because of that. You've made others uncomfortable just by refusing to play along with lies. Not because you enjoy conflict, but because you can't stand the weight of pretending. There's a certain kind of courage in calling things what they are. It's not about confrontation, it's about clarity. And clarity always exposes something that someone hoped would stay hidden. When you tell the truth, you're not reckless, you're not heartless, you're not trying to embarrass or attack anyone. You're simply unwilling to live inside illusions. That's a rare trait, because lies make life easier for everyone until they don't. You've seen what silence can do. You've seen how people manipulate situations just because everyone else is too scared to speak up. And you've watched how truth, even when it's uncomfortable, has the power to free everyone involved. People say, you've got mad heart because you're willing to tell the truth, even when you know it could cost you relationships, opportunities, or support. You don't weaponize honesty, but you also don't water it down to avoid reactions. You speak it with intention and with the understanding that some truths can only be carried by someone who has nothing to hide. What makes your courage even more striking is that you do it knowing it could hurt you emotionally. You still tell the truth, even when you fear being misunderstood, judged, or rejected. You take the hit, carry the weight, and stand firm, because your soul refuses to live falsely. That's not just honesty, that's heart that refuses to lie to itself. Number 3, you feel everything deeply without letting it paralyze your purpose. You've always carried emotions with a certain intensity that most people can't handle or understand. You don't just experience things on the surface, you feel them all the way down to the bone. Your heart doesn't know how to sit at the shallow end of life. When you love fully. When you hurt honestly. When you care with a level of presence that makes people stop and pay attention. That depth can be overwhelming for some people, mostly because they've trained themselves to be detached just to survive. But here's the difference. Your emotions don't control you. They inform you. You've learned how to manage the heaviness without letting it drown you. You can feel pain and still show up. You can feel confusion and still move forward. You can feel fear and still do what needs to be done. That balance is rare. Most people avoid their emotions because they don't trust themselves to handle what's underneath. You face yours, even when they're intense, and that's part of what makes your heart so strong. Your depth is not weakness, it's intelligence. It allows you to understand people with a precision that others just don't have access to. You pick up on what isn't said. You sense shifts in behavior. You can feel when something isn't right long before it unfolds. That emotional insight has saved you from situations that could have destroyed you. It has also helped you navigate people who couldn't be honest with you even if they tried. What makes your heart truly remarkable is your ability to stay functional in moments where others would completely break down. You don't shut down when life gets heavy. You don't lose yourself when your emotions overflow. You've developed a resilience that lets you process everything without being consumed by it. That takes strength most people don't give you credit for. People say you've got mad heart because you carry emotional weight that would crush others, and you still manage to show up with clarity, purpose, and conviction. Feeling deeply hasn't made you fragile. It's made you powerful in ways people only understand when they try to walk in your shoes and can't take 5 steps without sinking. Number 4. You don't run from pain. You interrogate it until it reveals its purpose. One thing that separates you from the average person is how you handle pain. Most people sprint away from anything that hurts them. They distract themselves. They deny what they feel. They bury it, numb it, hide from it, or pretend it never happened. But you face your pain with a level of honesty that requires a different kind of nerve. You don't just sit with your wounds, you study them. You pull them apart piece by piece until you understand what they're trying to teach you. That's not something you learned overnight. That's something life pushed you into. You reached a point where pain stopped being something that hunted you and became something you learned to decode. You stopped asking, "Why me?" and you started asking, "What is this shaping in me?" And that shift changed everything. Instead of breaking down every time life hit you, you started rising with more understanding, more clarity, and more self-respect. Pain turned into information. Trauma became wisdom. Struggle became awareness. You didn't get there because you're naturally strong. You got there because you refused to run. You realized pain doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It buries itself deeper and grows in the dark. So you made the courageous choice to drag it into the light. You examined the feelings nobody wants to talk about: abandonment, betrayal, rejection, self-doubt, loneliness, heartbreak, disappointment. And every time you confronted a new layer, you discovered a strength inside you that even you didn't know you had. Your heart didn't become powerful by accident. It became powerful because you allowed pain to refine you instead of define you. While others are terrified of their past, you learn to walk through yours with honesty. While others pretend they're unaffected, you found healing by facing the things that scared you. That's why people sense something different about you. They can't put their finger on it, but they can feel it. Your strength has depth. Your decisions have weight. Your presence has authority. Not because life was kind to you, but because you made meaning out of every moment that tried to break you. Your heart isn't hardened or bitter, it's educated. And education that comes from agony, that's a level of power most people never reach. Number 5, you choose integrity even when wrongdoing would be easier and more rewarding. One of the boldest traits you carry is your refusal to bend your values just because life hands you unfair situations. You've been tested in ways most people never talk about. Moments where choosing the wrong thing would have made everything smoother, faster, or more profitable. You've stood in situations where the easiest path was the dishonest one, the manipulative one, the selfish one. And still, you held the line. You chose character over convenience. You chose accountability over advantage. You chose decency even when life didn't feel the slightest bit decent to you. People don't understand how much strength that takes. They think integrity is simple, but integrity is expensive. It costs you opportunities. It costs you relationships. It costs you acceptance. It even costs you the illusion of winning. And yet, you keep choosing it. That's why people talk about your heart like it's abnormal, because in a world that rewards shortcuts, you choose the long, lonely, righteous route every single time. Life has shown you unfairness that would have pushed a weaker person into bitterness. You've seen how dishonesty seems to elevate certain people. You've watched those who cheat, manipulate, and deceive climb ladders you refused to touch. You felt the sting of being overlooked because you wouldn't break your own principles. But you never traded your integrity for temporary gain, and that's what sets you apart. What people call mad heart is really moral courage. It's the ability to stand in truth, even when truth slows you down. It's the ability to keep your hands clean, even when dirty hands open more doors. It's the ability to sleep at night because you didn't betray yourself trying to get ahead. Your heart knows something most people forget. The shortcuts that look rewarding at first always come with a debt, and you're not willing to pay that price with your soul, your peace, or your identity. So yes, people talk about your heart like it's wild, unexplainable, or unrealistic. But the truth is, they're witnessing something rare. Someone who still chooses righteousness after seeing how unfair, corrupt, and unpredictable life can be. That's not regular strength. That's conviction, and conviction like that is built only by a heart that refuses to be compromised. Number 6. Your strength is terrifying because it isn't performance, it's endurance. Your strength unsettles people because it doesn't come from noise, attention, or theatrics. It's not something you announce, it's something you live. You don't walk around trying to prove how tough you are or how much you've survived. You don't need to posture, brag, or broadcast your resilience. Your power reveals itself in the moments when life tries to bury you, and you quietly decide, not today. What makes your strength so striking is that it wasn't built from praise. It wasn't built from support. It wasn't built from comfort. Your endurance was formed in seasons where you had no choice but to push through. When the world expected you to fall apart, you held yourself together with nothing but sheer willpower and your relationship with God. When people were waiting to see you break, you kept showing up with the same calm resistance that made them question everything they thought they knew about you. You've survived storms that would have permanently altered someone else's personality. You've walked through battles that should have drained the last bit of hope out of you. And yet, here you are, still moving, still thinking clearly, still protecting your heart, still rebuilding what others tried to sabotage. Most people collapse under far less. Most people crumble the moment things become unfair or uncomfortable. But you've learned how to stand in the middle of chaos without losing yourself. It's not that life didn't hit you, it's that life didn't finish you. That's the part people can't wrap their minds around. They see someone who's been through heartbreak, loss, betrayal, humiliation, abandonment, disappointment, spiritual warfare, and they expect to see someone bitter, broken, or unrecognizable. Instead, they see someone who looks renewed, grounded, and more focused than ever. Your endurance scares people because they know they wouldn't have lasted a quarter of what you endured. They know they would have folded, lashed out, or disappeared. But you kept going. You kept growing. You kept choosing healing over hatred. That's why your strength feels supernatural. Because it is. It's not based on ego or pride. It's based on resilience, quiet, steady, unshakable resilience that makes your heart not just strong, but unbreakable in a way others can't copy or understand. Number 7. You protect people even when they don't have the capacity to protect you back. One of the most revealing things about you is the way you show up for people who can't show up for you. Not because you're trying to look good, not because you're trying to be the hero, and not because you're desperate for approval, but because your heart refuses to watch someone sink when you know you have the strength to help them stand. That's a rare kind of loyalty, especially in a world where most people only give when they're certain they'll get something in return. You've helped people who didn't understand your value. You've defended people who couldn't defend you. You've covered people who exposed you. You've stood up for those who were too overwhelmed, too insecure, or too afraid to stand up for themselves. And you didn't do any of it out of weakness. You did it because you operate from a level of character that most people never reach. Your loyalty has depth, not desperation. You're not trying to buy love, approval, or validation. You simply have a heart that doesn't abandon people just because they're imperfect or struggling. That's elite-level compassion, not the kind that gets applause, but the kind that makes you silently carry the weight that would have crushed someone else. Still, you're not foolish. This isn't blind devotion. It's intelligent love. You know exactly who people are. You know their flaws. You know their limits. You know they can't protect you the way you protect them. And you still choose to show up when necessary. That choice says everything about your integrity and nothing about dependency. People call your heart dangerous because it exposes how shallow theirs is. It makes them aware of their own selfishness. It forces them to see the difference between transactional loyalty and the real thing. You don't operate from fear or ego. You operate from principle. And here's the part that really shocks people. You can protect others without losing yourself. You can care deeply without letting anyone take advantage of you. You can give generously without being a fool. Your protection isn't naive, it's powerful. Because it comes from a heart trained by pain, guided by discernment, and anchored in values that no betrayal could erase. That's the kind of heart people remember, and the kind they'll never be able to replace. Number 8. You don't fear loss because you already survived the kind of emptiness that kills ego. One of the most liberating and intimidating things about you is the fact that you don't move through life scared of losing people, things, or opportunities. Not because you're careless, but because you've already faced a level of emptiness that stripped you of every illusion. You reached a point in your life where the bottom fell out. People you trusted disappeared. Support systems cracked. The world went quiet in the worst possible way. You met a kind of loneliness that doesn't just sting, it changes you. It kills your ego, destroys your false sense of security, and forces you to rebuild yourself from the inside out. Once you've been through that kind of void, regular loss stops intimidating you. What can anyone take from you that life hasn't already ripped away at some point? What threat can shake someone who has already survived emotional abandonment, spiritual isolation, and the pain of being left to navigate seasons alone? You've been through heartbreak that scrambled your identity, rejection that tried to shrink you, silence that felt like punishment, and disappointment that took the oxygen out of your chest. But you're still here, still grounded, still whole, still operating with a heart that refuses to turn cold. That's why you walk with a quiet fearlessness, not arrogance, fearlessness. You don't cling to people. You don't beg for validation. You don't chase relationships or opportunities that don't honor you. You've tasted the kind of emptiness that humbles a person completely, and instead of breaking you, it clarified you. You learned how to stand alone without collapsing. You learned how to feel pain without losing your identity. You learned how to rebuild yourself without applause, without a safety net, and without anyone reassuring you that you'd make it. So now, when people try to scare you with threats of leaving, withholding, or pulling back, it doesn't land. You're not moved by what you could lose, because you've already proven to yourself that you don't crumble without anything or anyone. That's what makes your heart so striking. You love fully, but you're not held hostage by fear. You care deeply, but not desperately. People call it mad heart, but really it's mastery, the strength of someone who has already buried their worst nightmare and came back stronger, wiser, and untouchable in ways they'll never fully understand. Number 9. You forgive without forgetting because you understand the anatomy of flawed humanity. Your forgiveness has never been about pretending nothing happened or forcing yourself to move on. It's deeper than that. You forgive because you genuinely understand how flawed people are. Not in a judgmental way, in a realistic, grounded way. You've seen enough human behavior to know that people act out of their wounds long before they act out of their wisdom. Their betrayal didn't come from strength, it came from insecurity. Their disrespect didn't come from confidence, it came from fear. Their envy didn't come from superiority, it came from a sense of lack they didn't know how to hide. You learned early that people's behavior is often a reflection of their unhealed places, not your worth. That's why you don't stay bitter. That's why you don't waste years raging about who hurt you. You've reached a level of emotional intelligence where you can say, I see why you did that, and I release you, without letting them back into the parts of your life they mishandled. Your forgiveness is comprehension, not weakness. You can see the roots behind the behavior. You see the childhood wounds, the desperation for validation, the hidden jealousy, the silent fear of your potential. You see the patterns they inherited and never questioned. You see the selfishness they never grew out of. That awareness lets you let go without internalizing their actions. But here's the part that proves your heart is rare. You forgive, but you do not forget. You don't erase the lesson. You don't rewrite the truth. You don't pretend they suddenly transformed. Your heart releases the emotional weight, but your mind keeps the history, not to punish, but to protect. You're not holding grudges, you're holding wisdom. You're not walking around suspicious, you're walking around informed. You're not shutting down, you're shifting your access. People call your forgiveness mad heart because they expect you to become like the people who hurt you. They expect you to turn cold, spiteful, petty, or vengeful. But you don't. You take the lesson, heal the wound, and rise without dragging bitterness with you. You refuse to become what damaged you, and that alone makes your heart exceptional. You walk away with clarity, boundaries, and dignity intact. That's not softness. That's mastery. Number 10. You love people past their masks and call out the truth they're terrified to confront. Your heart doesn't stop at the surface of people. It cuts straight through their layers, their defenses, their rehearsed personalities. You don't fall for the version they present. You sense the version they're protecting. And that alone unsettles a lot of people. Most folks survive by hiding. You walk into a room and your spirit immediately exposes what's real and what's acting. You can tell who's hurting, who's pretending, who's silently screaming, and who's projecting their unhealed wounds onto everyone around them. People who aren't used to being seen feel naked in your presence. They can't manipulate you, charm you, or confuse you because your heart reads intention like text on a page. Your love isn't the kind that lets people stay small. When you care about someone, you don't just comfort them. You challenge the truth inside them. You tell them what they're scared to admit, even to themselves. That makes you rare, because most people would rather keep the peace than confront the root. But you don't enable dysfunction. You don't dance around lies. You address what's real, even if it shakes the room a little. Your insight pushes people toward accountability, growth, and self-reflection. And while some appreciate that deeply, others run from it because they're addicted to their facade. You don't judge them, but you won't pretend with them either. You love people so honestly that it becomes a mirror, and not everyone is ready to see their reflection. This is why your heart is described as mad. It doesn't just love, it reveals. It doesn't just comfort, it awakens. It doesn't just care, it transforms. People either rise because of your presence or retreat because they can't hide in front of you. Your love is a catalyst, and catalysts always make things shift. Number 11. Your resilience exposes how fragile other people really are. You don't move through life the way most people do. What breaks them barely bruises you. What sends them spiraling is something you've already lived through, healed from, and grown past. You've endured seasons that shredded your confidence, attacked your identity, and stripped you down to your core, and somehow you still kept going. That level of resilience doesn't just stand out, it threatens people who've never faced themselves, their pain, or their own weaknesses. The truth is, a lot of people have never survived anything real. Their biggest battles are opinions, gossip, inconvenience, embarrassment, and rejection that lasts 48 hours. They crumble under the weight of small storms because they've never had to navigate a real one. But you? Your storms weren't emotional dips, they were spiritual earthquakes. You endured pressure, betrayal, loss, heartbreak, and disruptions that would have sent most folks into permanent shutdown. Yet here you are, functioning, building, growing, and becoming someone stronger than even you expected. Your resilience becomes a mirror that exposes just how untested and emotionally fragile people around you really are. They're not intimidated because you're loud or boastful. They're intimidated because your survival story silently invalidates their excuses. It reminds them they've been folding at the slightest discomfort while you've been standing after things designed to break you entirely. That contrast makes them uncomfortable. It makes them defensive. It makes them question their own inner strength. But your resilience isn't for comparison. It's the result of the trenches you had no choice but to crawl through. You didn't become strong because you wanted to. You became strong because life left you with no other option. And now, that strength radiates in every space you enter. People can feel it without you saying a word. Your resilience is proof that you're built from a different blueprint, one that doesn't collapse, even under pressure that should have ended you. Number 12. You don't crave validation because you've already met the version of yourself that survived without applause. There's a level of strength that forms in a person when they're forced to rebuild themselves with no witnesses, no encouragement, and no one clapping in the background. You know that strength well. You've gone through chapters where the only reassurance you had was the sound of your own breath, and you still kept moving. When someone has seen themselves survive without a cheering section, validation becomes optional, approval becomes irrelevant, attention becomes nothing more than noise. Your self-respect didn't grow from compliments or recognition. It grew from lonely nights, self-doubt, silent victories, private healing, and decisions you made when nobody was watching. You've been through periods where you questioned everything, your worth, your purpose, your direction, and still showed up for yourself. That type of self-commitment creates an internal authority that can't be shaken by opinions or withheld approval. People sense that in you instantly, and it unsettles them. Most people depend on outside validation to feel solid. They need to be liked, understood, celebrated, and constantly reassured just to stay emotionally balanced. They build their identity out of other people's responses. But you built yours out of the debris of everything that was meant to destroy you. That difference is why they call it mad heart. They don't understand how a person can move with such certainty without needing applause to keep them going. Your energy takes up space even when you're silent because it carries the weight of everything you overcame without witnesses. When someone's confidence is rooted in survival rather than compliment, it has a depth that can't be imitated. And that depth exposes how easily other people's sense of self can crumble. You intimidate not because you're trying to, but because your independence highlights their emotional dependency. Your heart learned to stand without being held. And once you learn that, nobody's approval feels like a necessity. It feels like a bonus. Number 13. You show love in ways that require sacrifice, not performance. Your love isn't decorative, it's functional. It's not the kind people post online to look good. It's the kind that demands effort, bandwidth, and genuine heart. You show up in ways that cost you energy, time, comfort, and sometimes your own peace. You carry people's weight when they're slipping, you support them through chaos you didn't create, and you give stability in moments where you're balancing your own storms. That's not performance, that's sacrifice, and most people don't have the capacity for that kind of love. You don't treat love like a show. You don't do grand gestures for attention or sweetness for aesthetics. Your love is rooted in responsibility. If you care about someone, you care with your actions. You check in. You show up. You listen. You adjust. You stay solid even when the situation becomes inconvenient or emotionally draining. You don't disappear the second things stop being fun. You understand that love comes with duties, and you step into those duties without needing applause. People aren't used to that. Society has normalized performative affection, loud declarations with little follow-through, emotional promises with no backbone, relationships built on vibes instead of values. Most people want the feeling of love, not the work of love. But you don't move like that. You know that love is only real when it costs you something: effort, ego, comfort, or control. And because you love with that level of depth, people often realize too late just how rare you are. They confuse your consistency for simplicity. They think your loyalty is automatic. They assume your presence is guaranteed. But when someone gives like you do, it's not because they're naive. It's because they've chosen to invest with intention. That's elite-level heart, and not many people have it. Your love forces people to confront their own emotional laziness. Your consistency highlights their inconsistency. Your reliability exposes their excuses, and your depth shows them how shallow they've been. You don't love to impress, you love to connect. And that kind of love is not only powerful, it's unforgettable. Number 14. You carry the kind of heart that confronts darkness instead of negotiating with it. Your heart isn't passive, it's a force. You don't tiptoe around wrongdoing or dilute your standards just to keep the peace. You were built with a moral spine that refuses to shake, even when standing firm makes you the target. A lot of people fold when faced with darkness because it's easier to blend in than to challenge what's harmful. But you confront it head-on, not because you want conflict, but because you refuse to let corruption grow under your silence. You don't cater to people who operate from malice, envy, or deceit. You don't soothe egos that thrive on manipulation. You don't adjust your boundaries to accommodate disrespect. Your heart recognizes danger long before it shows its teeth, and you cut it off without thinking twice. That level of clarity is threatening to people who benefit from chaos. They expect compliance. They want you soft, confused, or passive. They want you to absorb their toxicity without exposing it. But your spirit was never wired for that kind of submission. Your presence has a cleansing effect. When you walk into a room, people with hidden motives suddenly get quiet. Those who operate in shadows start feeling exposed. You disrupt patterns simply by refusing to agree with them. Your heart doesn't just resist darkness, it dissolves it. It breaks generational curses by refusing to replicate them. It shuts down manipulation by refusing to entertain it. It interrupts cycles of dysfunction because you don't tolerate the behavior everyone else excuses. People think you're too intense because you don't play dumb. They think you're too serious because you don't laugh off disrespect. They think you're too strong because you call things what they are without sugarcoating. But that fierceness is exactly what keeps your soul clean. You understand that compassion without boundaries becomes self-betrayal, and you'll never allow darkness to disguise itself as love in your life. Your heart doesn't negotiate with what seeks to destroy you. It eliminates it. And that's why you stand out. That's why they call it mad heart. It's not madness. It's mastery. It's spiritual authority. It's the kind of strength that protects not just you, but everything connected to you. At the end of the day, the truth is simple but undeniable. You didn't earn your heart through ease. You forged it through fire. Every quality that people now admire, envy, or fear in you was built in seasons where you had nothing but grit, God, and sheer willpower keeping you alive. You developed a heart that can love without losing itself, forgive without becoming foolish, confront darkness without becoming dark, and rise without asking for permission. That's not ordinary. That's not typical. That's not explainable in human terms. Your heart has depth because it has history. It has authority because it has survived. It has wisdom because it has paid the price. And the more people see it, the more they realize they are witnessing someone who lives from a higher internal place. Someone who doesn't collapse under pressure, doesn't negotiate with disrespect, doesn't abandon their values, and doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. You carry the kind of heart that embarrasses weakness, not because you're trying to, but because your strength exposes everything that was built on pretense. You carry the kind of love that makes shallow people confront their emptiness. You carry the kind of integrity that makes opportunistic people uncomfortable. You carry the kind of resilience that forces others to face the truth about their own fragility. And you carry the kind of clarity that darkness cannot stand in the same room with. And the most shocking part, you didn't become this version of yourself by chasing validation. You became this through solitude, hardship, self-confrontation, and painful evolution that no one applauded. You met the version of yourself that survived without applause, and that version became your foundation. That's why you walk differently. That's why you move with quiet certainty. That's why your presence feels like authority even when you're silent. So if anyone is calling you a chosen one with mad heart, understand this. They're finally seeing what life handpicked you to become. They're finally witnessing the soul that grew stronger every time the world tried to weaken it. And whether they admire it or misunderstand it, one thing is certain: they can't ignore it. If this message spoke to you deeply, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop a comment below sharing your thoughts or experience, and share this with someone who needs this message today. Your support helps this message reach more chosen ones around the world. Thank you for being here, and keep walking with that extraordinary heart. God bless you.